Today on Over a Coffee, I'm joined by Frank Terhorst from Biocarbon Science and also by Bernd Olligs, who is a sixth generation farmer here at Damianshof Farm in Germany. Well, Frank and Bernd, thank you so much for joining me over a coffee today. We're going to talk about carbon sequestration. We're out here. We're going to talk about the carbon farming. Tell me, Frank, what is it exactly and why is it important?
Well, good morning, Jen. First of all, agriculture is a special case because it's both a contributor to greenhouse gas emission, but it's also, as a sector, heavily impacted by climate change. But what's really interesting for us and farmers like Bernd is that agriculture has a huge possibility to actually create a solution also for that and actually help us to move into a better future. Under carbon farming, we understand initiatives that help to either reduce carbon emissions in agriculture or actually even help to sequestrate and reuse carbon that is actually in the field or in other industries. And that makes it very special, and that's what we are working on together with Bernd to find solutions for this question.
Well, it sounds quite high-tech and quite innovative. And what is the situation like in Europe overall? Are all countries equally developed in this, or some ahead or some behind?
Well, right now the European Commission actually, as part of the preparations for the new Green Deal policy, is preparing a framework for also carbon farming and actually agriculture playing a role in it. And that's what we are driving together with an industry initiative to actually provide a science-based framework to help the discussion in Brussels, which also has one other very important objective, which is making it attractive for farmers. Because only if farmers also benefit from it, they will play a major role and help to shape the solution for the future.
Well, Bernd, this is where you come in to tell me what makes it attractive for farmers. You're here on the ground, a sixth generation farmer, but also bringing in these progressive new ideas. Tell me why you do that. What's the challenge? What's the sort of outcome?
I think we farmers have a main point here at the point of CO2 sequestration, that we have to storage the CO2 in our soil. We are the people who can do it. We have the soil and we can work better. We can discuss about the system we plant our crops, how we make our fruit rotation, and how to work with intermediate crops. All these points can us help to work better, save petrol in that way that we don't work so intensive in our soil. And the next point is also that by this way we also make our water in the ground also better.
And you work with other farmers, you talk to your fellow farmers and come up with ideas and encourage each other.
I talk with other farmers, but most important is the information of my father. He's 88 years old, and his information to know which crops are better to the other, it's also important for me as to talk with other specialists which crops are the best and which rotation is the best. And he also is interesting to know what is going on, and he asks what is the next step and how are also the rules for the farmers.
Well, you mentioned the rules. Tell me, Frank, it is important to have these harmonized rules at EU level.
Yeah, it is very important to actually come to a European solution. Actually, we believe it will also be, it will take a global approach to it. Bernd already mentioned a few concrete solutions and parts of carbon farming, which is using cover crops, for instance. It is using climate smart solutions, and this is what we, together with others in the context also of the European Carbon and Farming Coalition, are working on to provide input to shape a fact and science-based framework that then can be harmonized in Europe and will set then the base for new innovation, but also new business models that help farmers also to actually provide an additional income source for them in the future.
And that's why industry like Bayer wants to be involved in this.
Yes, we believe that we can actually help policymakers to actually shape this framework. And we actually are coordinating an industry coalition which initially started as part of the World Economic Forum and is one of the lighthouse projects there, together with other companies but also institutions and the European Farmers Association, where we actually make very concrete proposals of how a science-based framework in the European Union could look like in the future.
And Bernd, from your perspective, what are the challenges? We said it's important to be harmonized, but what are the challenges when things are not harmonized, when you have different rules here and different rules there?
That is the problem of the European Union, that we have different rules everywhere, and we farmers want to work with all the same rules, that everyone knows what we are doing is the correct way. It's also, we know when we do the different things that we get, how many CO2 we can storage in our soil, and what we get from the, I would say, from the state. But it's also important that the people around know how many money the farmer get for his work, that is transparent to everyone, that not the politicians make a deal with the farmer now. The people in the town also have to know the farmer gets the correct money for the correct work. And that is very important for us farmers. We want not money what is not only for us, what is not correct. We want for good work, good money, and all of them should know that our work is well done.
And of course, consumers or citizens want to know this as well. So this is, I presume, part of what we're talking about. We want to get the message out that streamlined and consistent rules make for streamlined and consistent farming, if you like. Frank, what do you think needs to happen then from the corridors in Brussels to the field in Germany? Where do you want changes? What are your recommendations as the, if you like, the industry go-between?
Yeah, I think what we first need is now a base, a scientific base, which allows us and others to develop also a business model around this. Because at the end of the day, we believe that the fastest way to make agriculture part of the solution is actually innovation that countries but also private companies put into this. And here we in Bayer already have started with ideas. We have our Biocarbon program, which is part of this coalition I was talking about, where we already have products and are experimenting already with 27 farmers in 7 countries very concretely of how we can measure carbon sequestration and also how this could translate then into concrete benefits for farmers by using, for instance, as I said earlier, cover crops, by using precision farming tools which help farmers to document but also take better decisions, so that not only Bernd has the right decision for today, but also the next generation learns from it and can actually see this also in the digital phase. So we are very excited about this new opportunity and we encourage policymakers to shape this new framework which will allow us and farmers like Bernd actually to move ahead.
Well, Bernd described it as talking to his father, but I suppose in another that's just data sharing, isn't it? And we might call that something now about storing the right data and turning data into knowledge and making sure it is there in a way that is understandable for the next generation. Well, I wanted to ask you, Frank, about the Biocarbon program, which is a concrete program. Tell me what it is, because I know Bernd is one of the first involved in it.
Yeah, in Bio we have started our own carbon initiative, which is basically preparing a new offer for farmers, where we actually put our knowledge together to help farmers to document, but then also certify their progress in terms of either reducing carbon emissions or actually reusing or sequestrated carbon. So we have a variety of new seeds products, but also digital tools and our digital platform, which helps and supports farmers to take better decisions and then also to document actually the progress, which is then very important to also then apply for credits.
And how are you finding this, Bernd? Are you using these tools?
It's very interesting to show or to get the information from the field. Normally, when you are harvesting, you see how good is your yield at a special place on the field. But to talk and to explain my next generation what is going on, it's also very interesting. They also can learn when they see the picture of how good is the yield of the special places, and we documented it with field view.
You were saying that some of these tools make it tangible for what's going on. Has it been a really positive experience?
It is positive because they see what I do has a result. And that is the point where you can get everyone to do it. And so we write down, for example, how many petrol we need for working on the field. How then the step to plant the crop, how many steps we need for it. And we discuss which kind of mixture of intermediate crops we plant. What is the correct mixture? We have an idea what is good, but the point is at which time in the year, how many days after harvesting we are planting this crop, and how is it with the organic fertilizer, how it works together with them. What is going on with the straw of the corn in front? What is going on? And all these things we work together. What is the result of it? And I think when we get more information from the field and can explain the different people in my farm, as it's different is my father and my son, that they also know what is going on and that they can live with. Normally the information is only by the driver, and that is not good. It is better if you can get the information to the other one. And so it's also possible that the people around can control how good is my work, and that they can say the idea what we have by this system with how many steps we need from this crop to another crop.
Frank, you mentioned certification. Who is going to use that? What is that going to show, and who's that going to be of interest for?
Yeah, I think what we need to come to is that there is possibilities then for farmers to get a certification for what they do, and therefore a recognition, an official recognition, to actually then apply for carbon credits that they then can sell to others. And I believe this will be key, and that's also the opportunity, as I said at the beginning, where agriculture can actually be a significant part of the solution for Europe. And I also do believe that innovation actually is the key driver here, both on the digital side, but also in agriculture, in agricultural technologies in general. Since I believe innovation wants and needs sustainability, but sustainability also needs innovation.
We are coming out of a COVID pandemic. Do you think people, the society at large, is more interested in what you're doing, and both at industry level and on the farm, as we saw sort of the link between the land and the food in our shelves, and the whole process was very much thrown into focus by the sort of lockdowns and pandemics. Have you heard more interest in general?
Absolutely. I think that society has renewed their interest in a robust and reliable food system, but also has high expectations, and rightfully so, with regard to traceability and knowing where their food is coming from. And I think that this a modern agriculture in Europe, using digital tools can actually guarantee for the future. So we are actually very excited about it and are heavily investing into it.
Bernd, what would be your sort of key takeaway, your message for the next generation of farmers, maybe embrace innovation or, study from those who've gone before?
The next generation is growing, the next generation is learning farming, the next generation want to know where the way to farm, and they want to know that, for me also, how to do the best way of farming. They go to school, learn also things how to manage a farm, and that the ideas from the old one, I'm the old one, is correct or not correct. We have the discussion about it, how to do it. And I think we have to, for the young people, that we have an idea how the way for the system, and then we find young people who go the way.
Well, thank you very much both for talking to me and showing me around the farm here and getting our hands-on guide to what's needed for the future generations of farming, particularly carbon farming. Thank you.
Thanks.